I try not to hold on to things. I mean, you can go insane, trying, thinking about every little opportunity that could or wasn't, and could have been or wasn't. And I don't think it, again, I don't think it really serves you to dwell on those things, because each person's path and, is their own, and each person's kind of journey through learning of themselves and their emotions and becoming and hopefully bettering themselves is their own. And if you start to think about too much about things that could have been, I think it maybe calls into question the current. But if you're happy, with where you are right now, and you think you're on a positive path where you are, then you would never have gotten to that place. It's like coming out of a really bad relationship, and you think, while you're going through the breakup, it seems like the worst thing in the world. But then once you're able to digest that and say, you may say, oh, I wish this had never happened. But once you've passed that and you learn the lessons, and you grow, you can start to feel good about it, and you start to understand it. And I think that's true of a career of a band as well as it is a relationship, because there's probably things I might think I would do again differently, but I'm not really at the place where I'd want to change anything, because if I'm happy with the music I'm writing now, which I am, then I would never have gotten here if I hadn't done all that, The thing is, for me and my songwriting, what I always love, what always excites me initially about an idea more than anything else is the chords and the melody. And that's what I write first. I'll write usually a chord sequence that I think, oh, that's interesting. I've kind of never really heard something like that before. Or, whatever you find interesting about chord sequences. And then I'll write a melody over the top. And I actually find that my best lyrics actually come at this point where I'll improvise a melody over the top of the chords as I play them round. And I have quite a good, what would you call it? A fairly well-earned kind of ingrained sense of whether or not a melody is crap or not pretty quickly. I kind of know, I'm like, yeah, that's worth pursuing, or within the first second of me writing it, I'll go, nah, that's crap. And I've gotten so good at this now where my output of what I at least deem to be good melodies is quite high, because I kind of know when they're shit, like really quick. I suppose so. Yeah. And it's just, that's just earned from, I've been writing music for 18 years now. So, you'd expect me to have something like that. When I was first starting to sing, and even I listened back to say Dream Soda, our first album, I get that feeling of like, oh, I wasn't really sure what my voice was, what I was trying to do. I wasn't as well trained as I am now. I kind of hadn't put the years in, all the touring, and I didn't know how to use my voice. And I hear that immaturity in my voice when I listen back to those things. And I think that's true of a lot of singers, really. And I think there has been a process of, over the years, just me learning more and more where things actually sit in my throat and in my kind of range. Whereas before I was probably fairly guilty of trying to ape where other people might sing or something. But I've kind of, and also I guess because like top lines, melody writing, pop singers and stuff, they always sing high because it sounds best on radio or whatever. Whereas naturally I've got quite a low voice. I've got my range when I go up into my falsetto is fairly decent, and the top end of my kind of chest voice I don't know if this is interesting, but like is kind of like a G sharp A on a good day. And I think on this new album, and you can probably hear it on Sympathy Boy, I'm just more confident with singing a bit lower now. Whereas I was never that confident of my kind of chesty voice, my lower kind of register. And it feels cooler and sexier to me to be singing down there now. Whereas I used to sing up kind of higher in a more strained way because I just didn't like how it sounded lower down. So yeah, it probably is evolving. And I guess I'm older as well. I'm 31 now. These things happen. Your vocal cords change, as does the rest of your body and stuff. So yeah, I think that's reflected on the new album for sure. But I'll always enjoy singing up really high and falsetto and things. There was a song off the last album, Holy Doom, and that's kind of all in falsetto, and I really love that. I love singing like that because it's so crystalline, kind of crystalline and pure, and yeah, I like how that sounds. But maybe I'll do more of that later. But yeah, this new album, there's quite a lot of kind of croonery low stuff actually. Yeah, it's probably quite evocative of a lot of sci-fi. I mean, I love sci-fi. It's my favorite kind of genre, my favorite thing. And I love the dystopian kind of sci-fi of Blade Runner and those big, Vangelis kind of synthesizer lines. And, I love John Carpenter's films and all of the music he did for those. And I like, a lot of tripped out kind of new agey sort of like synthesizer stuff. Like I really enjoy big synth chords. And I suppose there's probably quite a fair bit of that on the new album, really. Like, I guess in the last few years since writing Holy Doom, that's been one of the main things I've been exploring, really, is that. We were in Joshua Tree, and it's my favourite place in the world. For a boy from Northumberland in, Newcastle, where I don't think there's much risk of finding a desert. Like, I don't know, I just had this most amazing connection with being out in the desert. So it's a really beautiful place. And we were out there, I can't remember what, it was the start of the first US tour we did. And we decided, the lads had never been to Joshua Tree. So I was like, let's start there and I'll show you around because you'll love it. And they did. And we were in this little bar called Pappy and Harriet's. And I actually bumped into a girl who I'd met at Desert Days Festival, which is a festival that takes place near Joshua Tree, in 2017. And I bumped into her and she just said, you should go up the hill and meet this guy, this old wizard dude. And so me and the lads thought, well, absolutely, So we went and found him, and it was just amazing, really. I mean, he'd just built this he was this, if you can imagine me plus like 70 years, is probably how I'll look. Like long, super long grey hair, rings all over him, like a big old beard, and exactly, like a proper, stereotype of an old wizard. And he just built this with a couple of other people, this amazing kind of little, I don't know, desert oasis. Like it had a little pool there and some little houses, and they decorated it really nicely with, like bits of different coloured stone, and they'd done painting and all of this. It was a beautiful place. And we just ended up hanging out with him. I think he just kind of decided to escape from the city. And I don't know if it was LA, but it might have been. I think he just decided to get out and bought a bit of land up in Joshua Tree years ago and just had decided to live there. I think it was just kind of like, and it was livable. There was a few houses that they'd built, and it was fairly nice, really. It wasn't like he was just living under a rock. Like it was like, there was beds, and it was quite cozy in parts. But yeah, I mean, I think he just decided to live that desert life, really. But he was an interesting guy. It was just surreal, man, to be honest, because, jet lag times by we had already been at the bar anyway, after having a few drinks. I'd already had like a few tequilas by then, because the tequila in Pappy and Harriet's, that bar, is just, they serve it, you know, it's not, you might get it in 25 milliliter measures here, but it's like a half a glass when you buy it there. It's just, it's insane. So, and we'd eaten lunch, and yeah, so it was a totally surreal kind of odd moment, really, being up on this mountain with this random guy in the desert, but it was very fun.